Did you see me on The View Tuesday afternoon? Did you see when they said, we don't believe there's a Trump mandate? I said, oh, really? Did you see the former press secretary for the White House come on? I think Stephen A. is wrong. I don't believe what he said is correct. Donald Trump has the lowest approval ratings in the first month or so, or the 2 months of a presidency in American history. Oh, really? But didn't he win all the swing states? Didn't his popularity elevate within 89% of the counties in the United States of America?
Stephen A. Smith calls out the DNC for what he describes as manufactured outrage, delivering a powerful critique that catches viewers off guard.
You got folks like Candace Owens, who's a Trump supporter, along with various others with their microphones, their cameras, and their audience. If you think the liberals are overcoming that, you go ahead and watch Schumer and those 21 other senators talk their drivel. J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio or somebody will be the next president in 2028. You'll have nobody but yourselves to blame. As if for this edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, I ain't got time to talk about this anymore.
The veteran sports broadcaster turned political voice criticized Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, accusing them of pushing fear-driven narratives about Donald Trump. All clips are here. Subscribe and start watching.
Today have gone out of their way to post messages on social media about the current Trump administration and what's happening to American lives. The problem is they're all literally saying the same damn thing. Don't believe me? Check it out.
When I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one.
That ain't true. That's what you just heard. Since day one of Donald Trump's presidency, prices are not down, they're up. Inflation is getting worse, not better. The prices of grocery, gas.
Stephen A. opened by criticizing Democratic senators for sounding disconnected and overly scripted, arguing their messaging feels rehearsed rather than genuine. He said party leaders repeat the same warnings about the economy, inflation, and immigration without offering new ideas or clear answers to voters' real concerns. According to him, this reliance on recycled talking points and performative outrage has left many Americans disengaged and frustrated with leaders who lecture instead of listen.
Hell, would 22 Democratic senators be literally echoing the same thing and think that would resonate with the American people? All it shows is that the same fabric of our democracy is unchanging in the eyes of some of these officials, and as a result, the constituency they represent, which is why Donald Trump is in office. What, do I have to come up to Capitol Hill and give you lessons? Seriously, you don't get it? Oh, you did. Elizabeth Warren, Cory Booker, Chuck Schumer. Let's all get together. Let's put this in a prompter, and all together, albeit in separate rooms, we'll grab a microphone and say the same damn thing. And that's what's going to resonate with the American people. And then you wonder why you're no longer in power.
Stephen A. argued that the Democrats' current approach is doing the opposite of what they intend, giving Donald Trump renewed momentum. He said the same strategy helped propel Trump to the White House before, yet party leaders seem determined to repeat it. Instead of adjusting their message or acknowledging voter fatigue, they continue using language that feels removed from everyday life. Stephen A. noted that Trump connected with ordinary Americans by speaking plainly and directly. Whether people supported him or not, they understood him. That relatability, he said, helped Trump reach voters across social lines. By ignoring this reality, Democrats risk reinforcing the very political forces they claim to oppose.
Chuck Schumer and the typical politicians, oh, inflation is high. Oh, look at them pointing the fingers at the migrants. Oh, look at them blaming immigration. They don't care about you. Oh, by the way, they don't care about you. Well, why would you bother people from the LGBTQ community? Why would you bother folks with transgender and all this? Why would you do that? That is what the Democrats say. That's what most politicians would say. Here's Trump. They're pieces of shit. They don't give a shit about you. It's rigged. They've hoodwinked you all the time. They think you're a freaking joke. They give you the middle finger anytime they want to. Here's Trump. Them. They ain't worth shit.
Stephen A. argues that Donald Trump communicates instinctively, delivering his message with a passion that resonates strongly with listeners. He believes it's Trump's intensity, confidence, and bold presence that draw supporters in and distinguish him from traditional politicians. Rather than sounding rehearsed, Trump comes across as direct and genuine, and Stephen A. says that authenticity is central to his appeal. Trump projects certainty and resolve, qualities many voters find reassuring in unstable times. Even when controversy arises, he tends to confront it head-on instead of deflecting blame. For his supporters, that willingness to acknowledge mistakes makes him feel human rather than manufactured. Stephen A. maintains that this emotional connection, not technical policy language, is what keeps Trump's base energized and loyal.
And do you know what his followers say? Yeah! That's how we want you talking to those politicians who've been stealing our money all of these years. It's not what he says. It's how he says it. He does it with vitriol and venom to show a disrespect to politicians who the public have no respect for because they feel they've been hoodwinked by those same politicians. He's using it to separate himself from the cesspool that is Capitol Hill. And how does Capitol Hill respond? By showing them they're still Capitol Hill.
Stephen A. explains that Trump's loyal following comes down to a simple reason. He openly targets the same groups his supporters resent. Trump doesn't soften his language or pretend to be neutral, and that direct hostility is something many of his backers appreciate. Stephen A. says Trump speaks with open disdain about political elites, powerful corporations, and major media figures because he knows his audience has little patience for them. Many Americans, he notes, view these institutions as deeply compromised after years of scandals, insider behavior, and public hypocrisy. By voicing that anger directly, Trump reinforces a strong connection with his base, one built not only on politics, but on shared frustration and distrust.
Donald Trump has the lowest approval ratings in the first month or so, or the 2 months of a presidency in American history. Oh, really? But didn't he win all the swing states? Didn't his popularity elevate within 89% of the counties in the United States of America? Didn't his popularity elevate within the Black community, the Hispanic community, and the young voters?
Stephen A. challenges those who minimize Donald Trump's popularity, saying they are choosing to ignore political reality. He argues that the evidence tells a different story, noting Trump's continued ability to draw large crowds, generate strong polling numbers, and energize voters online and in person. According to him, these signs show a movement that remains very much alive. Stephen A. also criticizes the Democratic establishment for overlooking these indicators. Instead of confronting uncomfortable facts, he says party leaders rely on messaging reinforced by friendly analysts and aligned media voices. He warns that this echo chamber mindset is risky as it distances leaders from real voter sentiment. By dismissing what many Americans clearly see, Stephen A. contends they don't diminish Trump's influence. They strengthen it.
He argues they don't weaken Trump, they only make him stronger.
Didn't he win the popular vote for the first time in 20 years as a Republican nominee? Didn't he also win the Electoral College vote? Isn't he in control of the White House? Don't the Republicans have the House and the Senate? All of that happened, but there's no Trump mandate. You see the bull? Is it bull? Or is it just that the Democrats are so damn lost that they're actually going to convince themselves they can do the same old and still regain power, both in the midterms and in the 2028 election?
At the core, Stephen A. argues that Democrats are relying on the same tired tactics that have already failed them. They assume that constantly attacking Donald Trump, downplaying his accomplishments, and questioning his influence will be enough to win voters over. He sees this approach as fundamentally flawed. Non-stop criticism without reflection, he says, only reinforces Trump's image as an outsider facing opposition. Instead of offering a persuasive alternative, the party leans on fear-based messaging and repeated character attacks. Stephen A. stresses that many Americans prioritize results, strong leadership, and authenticity over outrage. By refusing to adapt, Democrats risk appearing more focused on Trump than on the country. To him, using the same strategy and expecting different results isn't smart, it's denial.
I'm here to tell you that's not going to happen because Trump has the power now. and he's manipulating the proceedings. And in case you didn't notice, one of his top boys, Elon Musk, Doge, owns X. Who else was at the inauguration? Jeff Bezos. The man running TikTok. And Lord knows who else.
It's striking how Donald Trump gains support from unexpected areas, including Silicon Valley figures who don't usually engage in politics. These individuals, focused on technology, innovation, and business rather than party loyalty, found his approach compelling. Stephen A. points out that this reflects more than ideology. It's about influence. Trump also earned backing from highly popular podcasters and digital creators such as Joe Rogan and Candace Owens, whose vast, engaged audiences extend beyond traditional media reach. Unlike mainstream outlets, these platforms connect directly with listeners skeptical of conventional political messaging, helping amplify Trump's voice far beyond rallies and press events. Stephen A. argues that this mix of tech leaders, independent thinkers, and alternative media figures represents a new political landscape, one Democrats continue to underestimate, even as it reshapes how voters receive information and form opinions.
And then you got folks like Candace Owens, who's a Trump supporter, along with various others with their microphones, their cameras, and their audience. If you think the liberals are overcoming that, you go ahead and watch Schumer and those 21 other senators talk their drivel. J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio or somebody will be the next president in 2028. You'll have nobody but yourselves to blame. As if it is an edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show. I ain't got time to talk about this.
Stephen A. issues a clear warning. If Democrats don't adjust their approach before the next election, they risk losing not only to Donald Trump but to J.D. Vance, or almost any Republican candidate. He emphasizes that the problem isn't the opponent, it's the party's failure to confront its own shortcomings. Voter frustration, he says, is growing, and without meaningful changes in messaging, priorities, and leadership, that frustration will continue to benefit Republicans. Stephen A. calls this a harsh political reality that Democrats have yet to fully acknowledge. Instead of addressing why so many Americans feel disconnected from the party, leaders fall back on familiar talking points and ideological comfort zones. In his view, elections are lost not just because of the opposition, but because of internal blind spots. Until Democrats confront that reality, he warns, defeat remains a serious possibility.
Now I'm about to turn my attention to the Democrats in the presidential election they lost 4 weeks ago. I mentioned it just a second ago. I'm going to mention it again because the news doesn't get any better in terms of how much they spent to win. The Harris campaign reportedly paid Al Sharpton's nonprofit organization $500,000 prior to the vice president's sit-down with a civil rights activist and an MSNBC host. According to records from the Federal Election Commission, the Harris-Walz campaign made two separate donations of $250,000 to Sharpton's group on September 5th and October 1st. Harris sat down with Sharpton for an MSNBC interview that aired on October 20th, nearly 3 weeks after the donations from her campaign to the National Action Network